Welcome to MANGHWA Recaps, spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. The MANGHWA starts out inside of a fitness center in Seoul. Inside of the staff room we see a man named Choi Kang-yuk live streaming. He goes by Best Gym Rat TV. Kang says he's going to do a mukbang today. Then starts to pig out. He says it's good, then takes a sip of his beer. I'm sure you can tell from his body that he enjoys working out. He wasn't always a gym rat, but he was heavily injured in a deployment, during a special forces mission. And he started doing physical therapy, but fell in love with trying to figure out what was optimal for the body. He ended up becoming a Chad personal trainer, and focused on rehabilitation. For those who are wondering why he's doing a mukbang, it's because of COVID, in order to keep up with the cost of the gym's maintenance. He ended up trying streaming out, though the profits weren't good enough to maintain all 5 gyms locations. He does his outro to them all, saying to like and subscribe. I agree with him. He instantly sighs after he ends stream. He says he's worried about tomorrow. He ate so many calories and he wants to work out, but it'd be hard because of the alcohol. He starts to wonder how things got like this. It jumps to a doctor telling him that he's balding due to a high amount of stress, which hurts him. The doctor says if he doesn't de-stress, his body will continue to break down. Kang asks what he means, and the doctor says he'll become bald. Kang doesn't want to turn into a Korean Johnny Sins. So that's why he's resting so much too. She says he doesn't know what to do. I think he should lay off the gear. He starts to scroll on his phone, and says not this one, and we see that he's looking at Muram novels. He grew up with his grandparents, and he would often go to the nearby bookstore, and read them. He spots a familiar work, from an author named Gag Yong, and that there's a new one about a Shaolin monk. He says this is unique, and the synopsis is that Mu Jin, the protagonist, will have to pave his path as a martial artist. He clicks on it to start reading, and instantly finds himself hooked. He says he really feels relaxed, and then he starts to wonder when the last time he relaxed like this was, saying it's like he was back to being a kid. He falls over, saying that he's sleepy, and while he's laying there his phone screen begins to light up. Then he hears someone trying to wake up Mu Jin, for the morning workout. Kang raises up and looks up to see a bald head, and a Shaolin uniform. As a little boy says they need to hurry up or else they'll be yelled at. Kang asks the kid how he got into his house, and the kid asks what he means, saying he's older and bigger than him. Kang is 180 centimeters and 8% body fat, so he's confused. He asks the kid if his eyes are okay, and looks around wondering why he's in his house. But he quickly realizes that he is not in his house, and he's confused. Then he touches his head to see he's bald. He stands up wondering where the hell he is, and why he's bald. Then he remembers the kid called him Mu Jin, and says it's the same as the novel he was reading. He wonders why he's here, and why he had to lose his muscles. He quickly says it must be a dream. The kid says they'll really be late, and Kang, we'll call him Mu Jin from now on, stands up, and says he's an adorable kid. They start to run off, and he says he'll enjoy the situation since it's a dream. An older man yells saying being late first thing in the day, they need to be taught a lesson. He tells Mu Jin and the kid to take their places. Mu Jin says it feels so real for a dream. The man says they'll start with the horse stance first, and Mu Jin looks around to see everyone shaking, like after a bad batch of Taco Bell. But he says they'll hurt their knees like this. Mu Jin says that he started to do proper exercises due to the rehabilitation training. So he understands how important the lower body and core are to bodily health. There were times he saw trainers teaching the wrong technique, and that they would focus on the upper body and ignore the core. So he can tell their posture will lead to issues in the future. Their backs are too rounded, and their legs are too spread. The man yells saying the lower body is the foundation of martial arts. He says if they aren't able to maintain balance with their lower bodies, they can't properly put any strength into punching or their staff techniques. Mu Jin says if he knows all of this, why is he letting them have such poor posture? He grits his teeth. Since it's a dream he won't stand by. He yells saying they don't know a single thing about proper exercise. The older men, and all of the other students look in disbelief. The kid from earlier asks him what's wrong, then the older man asks why he's interrupting a training session with yelling. Some of the other older men too ask if he's doing this so he doesn't have to train, saying it's not befitting of a Shaolin disciple. Mu Jin says he wonders if it's because it's a martial arts novel, but he can feel their energy just from them shouting. Even so he doesn't plan to back down, saying he just pointed out it was flawed. And that it's way easier than having to deal with dumb members in real life. The man asks him if he's saying that the Shaolin training is wrong. Mu Jin says this dream is hella realistic, and he'll play along, by speaking like a martial artist. He tells the man that if they keep training like they are, when they get older the cartilage in their knees will be damaged. The man says it's an excuse made by the weak. Mu Jin asks what he means, saying that martial arts is for the weak to train their bodies and mind, but now he's saying it's not something for the weak to learn. Another man steps up saying the way the Shaolin trains is different from what he said. They train in martial arts to achieve enlightenment. Mu Jin says he sees, and asks if they are saying the Shaolin isn't a place where the weak can obtain enlightenment. The man quickly stammers saying no, they train harshly to train their minds. The mind is weak, so they seek comfort in times of difficulty and evil, and the training is to make it easy to endure through this. Mu Jin says he guesses their minds only need to be trained while they are young, is practically what they are saying to him. Since what he's saying is that in order to train their minds, it's fine to damage their knees when they are young. Since once they are old, they won't need to go through times like that. The other students start to chatter wondering if this is all true. Then Mu Jin points at a much older man, saying he wonders how much he's gone through, to still not have obtained enlightenment. The dude wonders why the hell this kid is so crazy, to say that to the first class disciple Hai Jung. Hai Jung shouts, and causes the students to cover their ears. Mu Jin says that's a lot of pressure. All of the students look towards Hai Jung, and he begins to walk to Mu Jin. Saying he's heard everything he said, and like what the second class disciple said, the martial arts of a Buddhist group is usually to train oneself, however their martial arts are different. Mu Jin asks how. Hai Jung says their martial arts are used to rescue the masses, they use them to protect others from evil and the demons that harass them. Mu Jin sighs, asking if they are just damaging their knees to protect others. Hai Jung stares at him, saying if they leave him be, he'll be a bad influence on the other students, but that the grown-ups cannot punish a young monk personally. So there's one option left, he tells Mu Jin to prove it himself. He points forward saying he wants him to win against those who learned from the Shaolin training method, to prove his point. Mu Jin asks who he'll be fighting, saying surely not a first-class disciple. Hai Jung says it would only be fair if he fought someone who joined at the same time, and gets Mu Gung to step forward. Hai Jung says if what he said is true, in 7 days from now he will spar with Mu Gung to prove himself. Mu Jin says the guy is in a different weight class, saying this is just a mockery of it being called fair, and mockingly says that he's an honorable senior. He agrees to the conditions, saying he'll do that, as there's no way he'd lose to a kid. They'll see in 1 week for now. Hai Jung says he's clearly taking the hard path. Amitabha, it's a Buddhist saying. He tells the rest to get back to training. The kid from earlier asks Mu Jin why he's doing this, saying to just apologize. We finally learn the kid's name is Mu Yul. The other students stare at Mu Jin with annoyed looks, calling him impudent. Hai Jung says he'll see him in a week. Mu Jin starts to sweat, while performing squats instead of doing the horse stance. A second-class disciple asked him why he was doing it, but he told him Hai Jung allowed him to. Hai Jung tells the man to leave him alone too. He smiles and continues squatting, while telling the rest their knees are going to hurt a lot in the future. He says they are so young, asking who'll take responsibility if their knees are damaged. Hai Jung gets annoyed, but tries his best to remain calm, and ignore the shit talking. Mu Jin trained for 2 hours, so now it's time to go munch on some protein, but he doesn't understand the issue he's about to face. He looks down at his food, asking if this is everything they are eating. As Shaolin monks are all vegetarians. While it's natural to be a vegetarian at the temple, he was puzzled since he didn't think about this. He wonders where the hell he'll get his protein, then he begins to wonder why he can smell the food in his dream. He says it smells good, even though it's only vegetables, but in the end it doesn't matter if that's all there is. He starts to shake, saying this is child abuse. They tell him not to talk, but starts to yap saying this is too harsh to only provide vegetables. The second-class disciples tell him to stop talking during meal time, saying this is disrespectful, and one of them says he'll teach him a lesson. Mu Jin wonders why the dude's angry, since he's the one who should be pissed. They need protein. He grits his teeth saying he won't let his training go to waste. A man opens the door, and starts to laugh. Everyone looks up to see him. And the second-class disciple shouts saying Hall leader Yun Moon. He takes care of the food here. He looks at Mu Jin, says he must be hungry, and if the food isn't enough, he'll get more. Mu Jin says there's enough food, and Hyun Mun asks if he wants more of the side dish. He decides to be generous and overlook his grumbling. Mu Jin then asks if he has any chicken breasts. Everyone is outraged, asking what the hell he's talking about. Mu Yul says he's been acting strange, asking if there's something wrong with his head. Mu Jin says that they need protein, they have to eat it. He looks at Mu Yul's eyes to see himself, and starts to realize things are strange. He gets tired from exercising, he can smell the food. He begins to wonder if this is reality. He quickly says he has to do something about the situation. Since if he's truly a young monk in the temple, he needs to think of something appropriate to say now. He bows his head, saying he's acted weirdly since he's hungry, he just misspoke. Yun Moon says he must have just been tired from training. Mu Jin then asks if he can have more beans and mushrooms. Yun Moon is speechless, and says he's definitely crazy. Whether it's reality or not, Mu Jin knew he needed protein. It jumps to him messing with his brush in class, saying he can't believe they are studying Buddhist scriptures. He starts to think about the what-ifs, saying even if he's in the world of the novel, how on earth will he get back home? Then he wonders if he'll get out when the story is completed. He says based on that perspective it's not bad at all. He's the protagonist, so he has exceptional talent. The Shaolin Temple is the strongest among the Orthodox Alliance. While he's deep in thought he spills his ink and screams. He realizes he was loud and looks up. To see the other students in disdain, he says that it would seem like he's been marked by the others. But it's too late to change things. He'll just win the spar, and get acknowledged. It jumps to Hai Yijung asking Hyunmun if he's serious, and he laughs saying he's a unique child. Hai Yijung apologizes on his behalf. Then Hyunmun asks what he thinks about Mu Jin. He says that they'll find out in 7 days if Mu Jin is correct or not. Hyunmun laughs, saying that's truly a great idea. They can't punish a disciple because of their thoughts, so they can just prove their point by testing it. He also says that he's heard that Mu Gung is one of the most competent disciples among the new disciples. The temple recruits hundreds of kids every year, but most drop out and they end up with only 10% of the original number. Which is why the other disciples or elders don't generally know the names of the new monks. But Mu Gung was a rare case, as they all knew who he was. Hai Yijung says Mu Gung will teach him a good lesson. It cuts to both of them walking up to the middle of a platform, as a week has passed since they agreed to spar. Hai Yijung tells the both of them to get ready for the fight. It cuts back to Mu Yul asking Mu Jin what he's doing. He says that he's stretching. Mu Yul asks what that is, and Mu Jin explains it in martial arts terms, calling it tendons extension technique. Of course we all know what stretching is in the modern world. But within the novel it's not that well known, especially the benefits of the increased range of motion. Mu Jin says he should give it a try. Some other kids talk about it as Mu Yul starts to stretch under Mu Jin's guidance. They hear other kids talking about Mu Gung, then they see him punching the air. The kids say he's incredible, and you can hear snapping sounds from his punches. Mu Jin says if he gets hit by that, he'll be in deep trouble, and he wonders how he's going to beat him within this kid's body, but he has an idea. Saying he just needs to use his size to his advantage. Hai Yijung says it seems like Mu Jin wasn't just trying to escape training. While he didn't listen to the others, he was still training in his own way. He's training with a tree, saying he's practicing to take down Mu Gung instantly. Mu Yul asks how him rubbing against a tree will help. Hai Yijung looks down at him, and chuckles, saying Mu Gung will teach him a great lesson. Mu Gung is happy that Hai Yijung is acknowledging him, and apologizes to Mu Jin saying he'll trample him. But then he sees Mu Jin throwing it back. As he's loosening up his joints before their spar starts, Mu Jin asks Hai Yijung if they can start immediately. They both get annoyed, saying he is acting tough. He starts to step forward, saying he'll show him. He says he's ready to start too, and that he'll show him the punches he's been training for the last 3 months. It starts, and Mu Jin runs straight in at him. This startles Mu Gung, and as Mu Jin gets closer, Mu Gung tries to back away from him. He punches straight at his head, but it gets dodged. Everyone is surprised instantly by Mu Jin uses the dodge trajectory to grab onto Mu Gung's leg. He says he can't use the martial arts he's trained. Since he's from the special forces he could kill the kid on accident. So the most efficient way to take him down will be with a tackle. They fall to the floor. After the spar started, the time it took for Mu Gung to be subdued was just a little over a second, as he gets put into an armbar. The students ask what's going on, and wonder if Mu Gung can get out of this, and some of them are worried saying that is impossible. For him to be subdued so quickly, and be in such pain. Mu Gung wonders what the hell is going on here. The second-class disciples began to give Mu Gung some advice, but even though they don't know what an armbar is, they can tell it's bad. They know exactly how painful it must be for his arm. Mu Jin calls out to him, saying if he resists his arm will break, so just surrender. The second-class disciples still try to tell him to get up. But Mu Jin assures him that if he exerts any more strength he will snap his arm, so he needs to give up immediately. Mu Gung starts to grunt as his arm gets closer and closer to snapping, and then starts to just cry. Mu Jin is surprised, and so are the other kids. Mu Jin quickly lets go saying he's sorry, and they all turn towards Hae Young, asking him what they should do now. Mu Jin helps Mu Gung get up, asking why they had to make two kids fight, and Mu Jin is declared the winner. We learn that the chain punch is one of the 8 extremities fist, which uses the entire upper body to generate a powerful force, which lets you quickly defeat your opponent. It's known for being very powerful. Mu Gung has the most proficiency among the younger monks. Even the second-class disciples were impressed by Mu Gung's chain punch, yet he pathetically lost without any form of resistance to some weird techniques. Mu Gung keeps crying, saying that this is unfair. Mu Jin asks what he means. Mu Gung says he charged as soon as they started, using something that wasn't the chain punch. He shouts saying he can win against anyone in a fair fight. Mu Jin tries comforting him, but messes up his name, which made him cry more. The other disciples say that Mu Gung has a point. Mu Jin turns around and sees them. They say that one should use the Shaolin arts when sparring here. Saying he broke the rules, Mu Jin wonders what kind of ridiculous ideology that is. The disciple then asks why he didn't use the chain punch. He says if he had used the chain punch the fight would have lasted for longer, and they could have gotten more injured, so he just prioritized making the duel quick. He said he did make him cry, but he didn't leave a single physical injury on his body. They say that's nonsense, since it wasn't a Shaolin art. He says they are the ones talking nonsense. They struggle to rebuttal since the chain punch was defeated so easily, by some strange technique at that. They don't want to admit it, but they are just refusing to acknowledge he lost. They don't want people to doubt the Shaolin arts, or that the new disciples might be discouraged and leave. They look back at Hae Jung wondering what the plan is. But they see him smiling, at the whole situation. Hae Jung calls out to him, asking if he truly did that technique just to not cause him harm. Mu Jin says yes. Hae Jung says that is the true essence of Shaolin, and smiles saying he's the winner. Everyone is surprised by this, however the reason his skill was more effective was because the opponent's level was that of a loser. The ultimate reason they learn martial arts, is to take down evil and the demonic heads who've learned martial arts. So he'll show the true essence to Shaolin, the real power that can take down their enemies. He orders the rest to bring him a boulder, they bring one over. I think that's a big demonstration of their power. They start to wonder if he's going to break the rock with his fist, and Hae Jung tells them to watch closely. This is the true power of the chain punch they are learning. A deep breath in, then readies himself, channeling his energy into his fist. Then exhales upon punching the rock. The rock begins to crack, and shatters as he punches a hole through it. The rock shatters to the ground, and everyone is pogging out of their gourds. Hae Jung looks smug and turns after receiving all of their compliments. Even Mu Jin is stun-locked, and says whoa. He starts to grin, saying that's a real martial artist. He says this is how it should be, one hit being enough to break open a mountain, one swing can take down hundreds of enemies. A single punch putting a hole through someone, then he realizes something. He says that Hae Jung mentioned overpowering the enemy without harming them. Hae Jung says yes, like it's a question. Mu Jin points out he broke the boulder into pieces, and they all look at it and realize it doesn't make sense now they are thinking about it, so nobody could say anything. Later that day, we see another man named Yun Sung talking about the fight with Hae Jung. Hae Jung says Mu Jin may be rather arrogant, but he trains his chain punch the most out of the students. He's worried though. Yun Sung asks if he's worried that he's only training the chain punch to learn its weakness. He says yes, saying it could be bad if Mu Jin is a spy of one of the unorthodox sects, or the demonic cult. Of course Mu Jin is just a modern-era gym rat. Yun Sung says he probably isn't, and he wouldn't do something so eye-catchy if he were. Hae Jung suggests maybe it's reverse psychology, but Yun Sung tells him not to worry, he's just a new disciple, and they'll find out over time if he's a spy or not. But he has an idea, and says maybe he's from a martial family. Hae Jung says it makes sense, as he doubts Mu Jin came up with those ideas by himself, about the training. Yun Sung says the greatest figure in a child's life is their father, maybe he wanted to prove that Hae's father's teachings are better than the Shaolins who've been around for so long. But says since he defeated Mu Gung he'll become more arrogant, wondering what to do about him. But then cooks something up, saying they can leave him to Baeb Gong. Hae Jung asks if he means the one in the discipline court. He says no, he's in the Arhat Hall instead. They agree it's a good idea. Then it jumps to some of the second-class disciples saying goodnight to one another. Then one of them spots something that shocks him. He says they should go somewhere else, and they look around to see what he's scared of. They see a man doing the horse stance, and we learn that it's none other than Babe Gang. They wonder what he's doing here. One of them says he's doing the horse stance, and the rest say no shit, and ask why he's not at the training ground. They say he must have wanted to keep training without rest. They all start laughing, saying there's a reason he's called the Mad Dog. Dude is obsessed with training. They laugh, saying the discipline hall is a good fit for them. Then one of them tell him that he'll be moving to the Arhat hall instead. He yells, asking why the hell he'd be doing that, and the other freaks out too, asking if they'll have to live with the Mad Dog again. He's always grilled the juniors ever since they were third-class disciples, but it turns out he wants to join all the halls and learn the differences in their rules, before going back to the discipline court. They say it's expected. He's obsessed with the rules. Babe Gang has worked hard to be a role model for the rest. He also spent way more time training, and his knees were constantly under tension due to this. If he didn't use internal energy, he'd experience so much pain that walking would be tough. But he didn't care, as he considered it to be part of his mental training. He chose to embrace the pain. He just finished doing the horse stance for 30 minutes. He's heard rumors of Mu Jin, and how he's a problem child. But says he'll teach him the correct mindset a disciple should have. It jumps to the next day, with the disciples freaking out that Babe Gang is standing in front of them all. They ask and he says he'll be joining them all today. Mu Jin sees him, and Babe Gang laughs, saying he's looking forward to working with them all. Mu Jin says he's absolutely diced to the gills. He notices the second-class disciples aren't happy about him being here. But the first-class disciples have no idea who the hell he is. Mu Jin quickly understood what's going on, and says he must be Babe Gang, almost like they haven't been saying it for so long. They start their morning training, and first thing up is horse stance. Babe Gang says the first thing to do is find the root problem. If he knows the problem, he can solve it. He walks behind Mu Jin while saying all of this, then spots him. Saying his legs are spread wider than his shoulders, he comments on how his posture is different, and starts to mimic the way he's doing it. He starts copying the squats he was doing and says it's not any different, and he feels the same pain as from the horse stance. He gets angry, thinking it's just a trick, and goes to say something to him. But Mu Jin says he isn't doing it right. Mu Jin asks what he means, and he tells him his posture is wrong. Babe Gang asks him to explain, and Mu Jin realizes he'll have to teach him so much, and says he doesn't know why he's copying him, but he can hear his knees screaming with every squat, and he can't ignore this. He thinks about how it'd be beneficial to have him on his side, and decides to win him over since he has authority here. He tells him that copying him will just make his knees worse, and asks if he can trust him and listen to how he instructs him to move. We see Babe Gang in a lunge pose, and Mu Jin says it's good he's flexible, and says that this technique loses the muscles in his knees. If he does this before the actual exercise, he'll be able to exercise smoothly, while reducing the pressure placed on his knees. He tells him to do it for a 30 seconds interval, and that'll make a set, and he just needs to do it 3 times. Babe Gang asks what a set is. Mu Jin says he misspoke. Then notices that his knees are shaking, and quickly massages it, asking if he's feeling better. But he looks visibly pained. Mu Jin says this is bad. If just a light touch hurts his knees, it must be insanely damaged. Babe Gang starts to calm down, and says at first it felt like someone hit his knee, but now it feels refreshing. Mu Jin says alright then, they were on the second round, so they should start again, since training waits for no man. Babe Gang starts to wonder what kind of kid Mu Jin is. The other students see Mu Jin encouraging him, and Haijung wonders what the hell is going on. Mu Jin says when his knees feel bad, he just has to do this. Due to his nickname of being the Mad Dog, the other second-class disciples understand exactly what kind of obsessive person he is, but now they see he's being friendly. Training with a new monk, we see Mu Jin tell him to rest a bit, then they'll do it again 15 times. Mu Jin explains how earlier he was doing air squats, but he shouldn't since his knees are cooked. And he needs to bend his knees just slightly to take the pressure off his knees. He says he'll summarize it and tell him the sequence. First, you bend your knees slightly, and slowly descend down. Second, as you go to sit you must focus on your glutes and thighs to descend rather than the knees. Third, just like step 2, only use the same parts when ascending. He asks how his knees feel, and Babe Gang says they feel fine. Mu Jin says that's good, and to rest a little. He says he's definitely feeling less pain. Mu Jin says now they've done this, the next exercise will be focused on his calves. He explains that usually those with fierce appearances are often weak to friendly people. Mu Jin quickly compliments him, and Babe Gang laughs, saying he's been here for 18 years. The first-class disciples wonder if he's truly gone mad. and Hae-jung starts to pray since his blood pressure is spiking like crazy, and he decides to ignore them for now. They start to head to get food, and Mu-jin reminds him to make sure to do as he said before he trains. To others it looks like Babe-gang was blindly following his orders, but that isn't the case. He's decided to follow them after trying them himself. This is what he's decided after receiving personal training, stretching lessons and a massage from a top-class personal trainer. He thinks his techniques are incredible, he says they were really effective, and he experiences almost none of the usual pain he does with his knees, and he could feel the muscles on his legs stretch as he trained. He asks Mu-jin if it's techniques taught by his family. He asks what he means. Babe-gang explains that since his techniques are so effective he must be from an extraordinary family. He was told those techniques were passed down within Mu-jin's family. He smirks, saying this is a good misunderstanding. He says he did act strangely at the start, and wondered how to explain it all, but now he won't. He goes along with it. Babe-gang laughs, saying they are goated. But that his praise only applies to the treatment for his knees. They are training for martial arts, and the Shaolin is 1,000 years old. He understands Mu-jin's heart for his family, but it'd be great if he trained the Shaolin way too. He says he'll take note of that. Then Mu-yul asks if he's done. Mu-jin says yes and tells Babe-gang he'll see him later. Babe-gang smiles watching him leave, and hears Hae-jung clear his throat. He apologizes for being unsightly. Hae-jung says he's glad he's aware. Babe-gang says the know thy enemy quote, and Hae-jung sighs asking what he thinks about it. He says from what he's experienced, Mu-jin isn't from a martial family, but rather a family of physicians. He asks him why he thought so. He continues saying he should say this first. But his knees are all torn from the training. He didn't tell anyone as he didn't want them to worry, and more importantly he didn't want to show his weak side. Even the juniors who trained with him for 10 years haven't noticed his knees are screwed up, but Mu-jin could tell right away from how he was bent, and then Mu-jin taught him movements that didn't hurt his knees at all. Hae-jung says his family must be physicians for a martial family, and wonders what to do. Saying the training of Shaolin is about to collapse. Babe-gang says not to worry, he's sure Mu-jin will walk the right path, and young kids usually listen to adults they are close with, instead of force. He'll get close and slowly teach him the Shaolin methods. Hae-jung says alright, but to take it slow for now, and that he's counting on him. A while later in the afternoon training, we see Mu-jin is annoyed, saying having to do Buddhism lessons after breakfast blows, and he wonders if it's because he's young, but the food coma is real. They head to their training, and Hae-jung says since they are good at the chain punch, it's time to move to the next step. One can only exert the full prowess of martial arts by combining internal and external energy. So now they'll start to prepare them on their internal energy journey. He sends out 2 disciples to demonstrate how to them all. He tells them to get into the lotus position, and Mu-jin wonders what's going to happen. He sees them sitting down on the floor, and they cross their legs. He says he recognizes it now. They both close their eyes and focus on breathing. He tells them to take a deep breath, and let it pass through their nose and throat fully, and keep breathing until it reaches their energy cores. Mu-jin starts to get excited, saying he can finally learn the martial arts he's been dreaming of. He says he's been getting sick of the same exercises for now, and now it's time for martial arts. He wasn't the only one excited, all of the other students were too. As it gave new reasons for them to train hard. They were all dreaming of being able to break the boulder like Hae-jung too. They focused on his voice, and followed the breathing patterns too, but Mu-jin says something about this training is weird. Mu-jin says that something is weird about this. He understands that it's a breathing technique, but it is different from the Shaolin methods he's read about in novels. They don't teach chants for cultivation or things about yin and yang or the 5 elements. He sighs, saying that he's sure there's a good reason for this. It jumps to an hour later, and Mu-jin has been doing his best to follow everything that he has been told. On the outside, he's trying to pose as a normal student, but inside he is just desperate to get some inner energy, which is the source of power that allows people to split mountains and fly in the skies. These are the things that he assumes he'll be able to do once he gets the energy. He's mostly excited about it because of the demonstration he saw earlier from Hae-jung, along with the fact that he is down bad from Urim novels. He then gets told to open his eyes. Hae-jung says that the energy circulation that they just learned is a basic method. That allows them to feel and accumulate it within their bodies. They should all practice it in their free time. Mu-jin gets annoyed by the fact that they are not just teaching him a cultivation technique, and that they are just making them start from basic breathing. For him to get the inner energy, he must be able to sense the energy first. One of the students hands him a book, and he asks what it is. The student says the book contains images of a human's meridians. Some students talk about how they are different than they thought. Hae-jung says that there's no need to memorize the whole book, just memorize the main meridians so that you can use it when you're cultivating, or if you want to subdue your opponent. Mu-jin gets excited. Then explains how meridians are passageways where energy flows throughout the body, inner energy also does too. Hae-jung tells one of the students to step forward and point out where all the meridians are. While he's doing this, Mu-jin is reading the book, saying that he will have this all memorized by today. Later that evening, we see him recalling Hae-jung's words about learning all of the meridians. He says that it means that he could try out some moves right after mastering the energy circulation technique. While he is walking, he spots Bae-gang, asking him what he is doing. Bae-gang laughs, saying that, thanks to his exercises, his knees don't hurt as bad, and he is trying to train more. Mu-jin gets pissed, saying that he can hear his joints creaking and that he taught him those exercises so he didn't hurt his knees, which would force him to recover. Bae-gang clicks his tongue, saying that iron only gets stronger the more it is hit and starts flexing. Mu-jin is not having any of it and tells him that iron only becomes stronger if you strike it in the correct manner, and if you do it recklessly, you will just break it, and that the same logic applies to humans. He then asks Bae-gang to take a seat, saying that he is Chris Hansen, and would like a word with him. Then convinces him to get a massage. He says it might hurt a little bit. As soon as he presses, we see Bae-gang make a pained face. He tells Bae-gang to let him know if it hurts. A bit later, Mu-jin says that massaging injured knees reminds him of the past. He flashbacks to when he was in the special forces. His body was constantly in pain, and he tried to bear through it and continued training while being injured. Even though he suffered badly, his mission required him to cross a river. In the end, he fell and was forced to retire early. At that time, he really thought it was over for him, and he lived without energy. We see him on a park bench, and he looks down as it is raining towards a puddle. He looks at his own reflection and says that the current Bae-gang looks a lot like he did back then. Mu-jin tells Bae-gang that if his body is injured, he's the only one who suffers and nobody else would take the responsibility. Mu-jin wonders if he said that too much like a lecture. Bae-gang pats his head, saying that he doesn't know what he went through before he came here, but the Shaolin doesn't abandon their disciples just because they are injured. He smiles, saying that they won't abandon anyone, regardless of what happens. Mu-jin is surprised and smirks, saying that if Bae-gang is saying it, it must be true. Bae-gang laughs, saying that starting tomorrow, he should train in the way of the Shaolin, and lets out a scream due to Mu-jin's massage. After the massage, Bae-gang quickly apologizes for taking up his time, asking where he is going. Mu-jin says that he is going back to his room to practice the circulation technique that he learned. Bae-gang is surprised, saying that surely he should already feel the energy from his family's technique. Since he is a physician, surely he should be able to read the flow of the energy. Mu-jin realizes that his story is starting to fall apart and makes up an excuse, saying that he hasn't learned it due to personal issues at home. Bae-gang says that he should practice here, as he was also thinking of circulating his energy, and that it would be a good chance for Mu-jin to train with him. Maybe if he trains next to him, he might be able to get a better sense for energy. Mu-jin is instantly sold, saying that is the smartest thing this smooth-brained musclehead has ever said. He sits down, saying that he might as well try it out. He readies himself and then tells Bae-gang that he is ready. Bae-gang laughs, saying to make sure to stay focused and pay close attention. He takes a deep breath, and Mu-jin starts to feel something as the air around Bae-gang clearly seems different from earlier. He says that he will take this chance to figure out what is different between them, and then starts to see something that he did not see when he himself was training. And wonders if this is what they have been talking about. He is surprised as he starts to see an orange hue around Bae-gang, saying that this must be energy. He starts to lock in. He's breathing out with his mouth while gathering all of the evil energies, exhaling it from his body. While breathing in, he breathes as deep as he possibly can, absorbing the energy of nature until it reaches his core. He finally found the difference between himself and Bae-gang. He starts to make a strained face, saying that he failed at absorbing the energy, and he begins to imagine himself storing it. He starts to feel a warm feeling in the middle of his abdomen and says that he's done it. He has felt the energy but quickly makes a questionable face as it is about the size of a grain of rice. He says it's small, but he can still feel it. Then he makes some joke about how people still call them truffle chips, even though there's not even 1% of truffle in it, which gives him confidence. Bae-gang says that both Hae-jung and Yun-sung were right. He is someone who will become a pillar to the Shaolin. Mu-jin says that he has gotten a rough grasp on how to sense energy and store it. He's practiced the breathing technique a lot now, so he's familiar with it. But he wonders why it feels so cold. He opens one of his eyes, and Babe-gang laughs at him as Mu-jin sees that it is already night time. He apologizes to Babe-gang, saying that he didn't know it was this late. Babe-gang tells him not to worry about it and to quickly go back to his accommodation. Before he leaves, he quickly bows, thanking him for instructing him. Babe-gang is surprised he's already reached this level and laughs, saying that he'll be able to learn the enlightenment technique easily now. Mu-jin is confused, saying that surely he'll have to learn more about the meridians first. Babe-gang says that since he's from a physician family, surely he already knows all of that. Mu-jin laughs, saying that it was just a joke as he forgot his own lore. Babe-gang says that was an hell of a joke, little bro, and to go back. Mu-jin is panicked about the physician's family thing, saying that he'll have to memorize all the meridians in a day. The next day for the morning training, Hae-jung tells everybody that if they can sense energy and if they have memorized the meridians to step forward. We see Mu-jin yawning, saying that he's finally managed to memorize them all, and it'll feel good to be someone who steps forward. Two people instantly step beside him, which catches him off guard. He wonders if it was simpler than he thought since there's quite a few people. He says that he was supposed to be an exceptional genius, so he wonders what's going on here. Hae-jung shows them the basics of the Shaolin cultivation technique, which is what Babe-gang mentioned last night. He says that since it is the basics, it won't take long, and he'll teach them slowly. He starts speaking an enchantment table, and all the students are surprised that the three of them managed to memorize all of it in a day. We see Mu-yul blankly sitting there. Mu-jin and the other students begin to return back to their groups, and Mu-yul asks him how he learned all of that in a day. Mu-jin starts to explain it to him, and Mu-yul turns into a super genius, instantly understanding everything. Mu-jin realizes that his brain is entirely empty, asking if he learned anything. Mu-yul confidently says, not a thing. Mu-jin tells him that he'll be able to do it soon and to focus on breathing. Mu-yul laughs, saying, okay. Mu-jin continued to memorize all of the meridians until it was perfect, along with memorizing the basic cultivation technique. He says that he can feel his energy filling up faster, but it's closer to as if it moved up 1 decimal point. But even so, he's still hella excited for learning things that he's only read about in novels and that it's extremely fun. And this is what it must feel like to be a protagonist. As his training continued to go smoothly, we hear Mu-yul call out to him while he is training. Mu-jin asks him where he went, and we see Mu-yul carrying somebody by the leg, dragging them along the ground, and he looks very excited about it. Mu-jin is wondering if Mu-yul just murdered somebody and tries to figure out what is going on. So he asks Mu-yul, who says that he isn't dead, so it's okay. Mu-jin asks him if he's sure that he did not kill him, and Mu-yul says no and introduces him as Mu-kyung, saying that he joined the temple earlier than he did. Mu-jin asks him why he is carrying him around. Mu-yul says that he could not carry him on his back since he was scared. He needs to wake him up, but he's completely out of it. Mu-jin tells him to wait a second and looks down at Mu-kyung, saying that the dirt on him is obviously caused by Mu-yul, but the bruises on his body are not, and that somebody must have beaten him up. He says that it looks like a footprint on his body. Mu-yul says that he's right. Mu-jin says that his name sounds familiar, and he recalls Mu-kyung as a tall but scrawny kid, and he looked malnourished, something closer to a scarecrow than a human. We see a memory that Mu-jin had while passing him, but he is truly remembering something else. He can't recognize his face, but the name is very familiar, and he starts to recall where he heard it before but shakes his head, saying that it's not important. Mu-yul then asks why he would be beaten up. He says there's probably many reasons, but doesn't know for sure. And he tells Mu-yul that he knows someone who would do it for sure. He tells Mu-yul, since Mu-kyung joined earlier than he did, they need to find somebody who joined before Mu-kyung, and that it's somebody Mu-yul knows, as he sparred with Mu-jin early on. Mu-yul recognizes who it is, and we see Mu-gung asking them what they need. He sees Mu-yul carrying Mu-kyung, but he's completely lost, so he asks them what happened. They continue to stare at Mu-gung. Confused, he asks them what it is. Mu-yul then drops Mu-kyung to the floor. He grunts and then his soul leaves his body. Mu-yul laughs, saying oopsie. Both Mu-jin and Mu-gung stare, since they just witnessed a murder. A bit later, after confronting him, Mu-gung asks why he would waste his precious training time on them. Mu-jin wonders what's wrong with his attitude, saying that as their senior, surely there's nothing more important than an injured junior. Mu-gung reminds him that he is his junior as well. Mu-jin laughs, saying that he's going to be known as a senior who lost. Mu-gung tells him that it was only because he let his guard down. Mu Jin continues to instigate him, saying that he got completely crushed. Mu Gung loses control and punches toward Mu Jin, but Mu Jin quickly ducks under it and goes in for a tackle. He grabs onto his collar, throwing him onto the ground, and then quickly gets him in a twister pose. Mu Gung gets annoyed, saying that he is using weird techniques again. Mu Jin laughs, saying that he lost yet again, and the result will be the same, even if they fought 100 times, as he does not understand why he is losing. Mu Gung tries to get out of it but realizes that he can't. Mu Jin tells him that if he explains why Mu Kyung is in such a state, he will tell him why he lost. He lets go of Mu Gung, and Mu Gung quickly backpedals to create distance. Mu Jin realizes that the attitude must be because he has a grudge against him, and he's very prideful to someone who lost. Mu Gung asks if he will really keep his end of it. Mu Jin says yes, asking him why Mu Kyung is beaten up. He says there is no other reason than he got on the bad side of Mu Tae. Mu Jin asks who that is, and Mu Gung tells him that he is from the outer sect, and he is the only son of an escort establishment. Mu Kyung's father is a porter for the Sea Bull escort group. He says that Hae Moon was trying to recruit Mu Tae into the temple, but ended up discovering Mu Kyung's talent. He brought them both here together. The problem now is that Mu Tae thinks that Mu Kyung is trying to get a position of power over him, so he started to bully him as he felt inferior. Mu Jin says that it's crazy as they are Shaolin disciples, but Mu Gung tells him that it can't be helped as his father is working for Mu Tae's family. Mu Jin gets pissed, saying that if this was a normal place he would understand, but this is the Shaolin that teach the way of the Buddha. He points out to Mu Gung that he has the greatest influence over the students, yet he still hasn't done anything about it. Mu Gung asks what he is meant to do, and Mu Jin says that as the strongest he should protect him. Mu Gung tells him that there are 3 of them, and fighting even just one would be tough, so he can't do that. Mu Jin points over to Mu Yul, saying that Mu Yul says that Mu Gung is the strongest of them all. Mu Yul doesn't say a word because he is in another dimension mentally. Mu Gung gets embarrassed and clears his throat, saying that that might be the case to Mu Yul and that Mu Tae's group doesn't take their training seriously. Mu Jin asks him about it, and Mu Gung says that he already told him that they are the outer sect disciples. Of course, the outer sect still uses Shaolin's martial arts as the base. I don't know why that is relevant, but Mu Jin then wonders if Mu Tae was one of the 2 people who stepped forward with him, saying that he must have already completed the prerequisite learning. Feel like I might have misread something here. Mu Kyung starts to wake up, and they look over at him. He opens his eyes and asks where he is. Then he looks up to see all 3 of them and thinks that they are angry at him. He then crawls backwards in fear. They quickly say they are not here to hurt him. Mu Jin explains that he heard his situation from Mu Gung. Mu Jin wonders how badly he was beaten for him to be this scared of them. He understands since Mu Kyung's dad works for Mu Tae's family, it might cause more problems if he talks. He wonders if there is any way to help him or not, and then realizes something, saying that he thinks he can, asking if he will listen to him. Mu Kyung asks if he can even help him. Mu Jin says it's simple. He just needs to report those threatening him with his father to Hai Ijung. Mu Kyung is confused and asks if he is teasing him, saying there is no way they will let his father off. Mu Jin says that is also simple, and it will be resolved if he joins the main hall as it would move him up from the outer sect. Since the outer sect disciples usually stay outside of the Shaolin. Not everyone can become one, but they realized why Mu Jin said that and what goal he was trying to accomplish. Mu Jin says they are just outer sect disciples, so they can't threaten a main Shaolin disciple or his father. He recalls Baib Gang saying that the Shaolin will never abandon a disciple. He stretches his hand out, saying that Hai Ijung and the Shaolin will never let them do as they please. Asking if he would like to give it a try, Mu Jin asks him why he's not saying anything, asking if he doesn't have the confidence to become a main disciple. Mu Kyung awkwardly looks to the side. Mu Jin starts to get pissed, asking if he intends to allow his father to stay and work under someone who bullies him, saying that if he gives up, then his father will have to keep working under Mu Tae, asking him if he is truly okay with this. Mu Kyung quickly grabs his hand, saying that he will give it a try. Mu Jin says that is a great decision and then looks over, saying he'll tell them all about his second plan now. He says that they can't just let them bully him until he becomes a main disciple, and that they have to beat Mu Tae first. It jumps to 3 days later, when they are having free time in the afternoon. We see some kids in an alley telling Mu Tae that Mu Kyung is here. Mu Tae says that he knows and that he told Mu Kyung if he doesn't come here, then he'll send a letter to his family. We see his underlings. They are named Mu Hui and Mu Huan. They laugh, saying it's been a while since they last beat him. A while to them is 2 days. Mu Huan says that Mu Kyung has been hanging out with some strange guys. Mu Hui says that he is talking about Mu Jin and Mu Yul, and that Mu Gung is also with them. They wonder why Mu Gung is hanging out with them. Mu Hui says he doesn't know, suggesting that they might all come today. Mu Huan says that's good, saying that they'll have more targets to beat up. Mu Tae starts to laugh, saying this is great and that he's been wanting to beat up Mu Jin for a while now. Mu Hui and Mu Huan both say that they have to teach him a lesson, as he has been acting out of place for a while. They also talk about how Mu Gung acts like a role model, and how he cried recently. Mu Jin then tells Mu Gung they are calling him a goody two-shoes. He laughs, saying if that's what they think of him, and then the group turns to see Mu Jin and the boys pulling up. Mu Jin laughs, saying that at least they aren't running away. Mu Hui and Mu Huan both laugh as well, asking why they would need to run away, and they guess Mu Jin's confidence is too high right now. Mu Jin laughs since they just called Mu Gung a gorilla with no brain. Mu Gung says that he'll make sure they never say that shit again. Mu Huan walks forward, asking if he is trying to scare them. Mu Jin then says he will deal with Mu Hui and that Mu Kyung has to deal with Mu Tai himself. Mu Jin tells him to remember what he taught him, saying that as long as he does remember it, he doesn't need to worry. Mu Hui walks forward, saying it's crazy that Mu Kyung is making friends and he's envious of him. They start shit-talking Mu Gung and Mu Jin. Mu Tae stands before Mu Kyung, asking him if he is going to try to hit him. Mu Tae puts his hands up but is terrified, saying that he's too scary. Mu Tae says that if he does hit him, surely he will know what will happen to his father. Mu Kyung gets afraid and starts to recall his father but also remembers what Mu Jin was telling him earlier and that they have to teach him a lesson. Mu Kyung must become a main disciple. Mu Kyung closes his eyes and starts to cry while punching forward, saying not to pick on his father. Mu Tae dodges his punch and goes for an opening, asking if he is crazy. Then we see somebody's fist get caught as it was Mu Gung catching Mu Huan's fist, and he says that's not bad for a gorilla. But Mu Huan then realizes that he can't pull his fist back, saying that he's hella strong, and he looks up, saying that Mu Gung is giving off a completely different vibe now. And we see his eyes shining. Back before they came, we see Mu Gung asking the others why he would be involved in this. Mu Jin tells him that a junior needs help, asking if he is too scared to step in. Mu Gung laughs, asking why he would be scared of them, and Mu Jin says that since he decided to help, they should finish what they were talking about. Mu Gung quickly asks what he means, and Mu Jin reminds him that he told him that he would tell him why he lost. Mu Jin says that the chain punch he used is definitely fast, but that's all there is. Mu Gung says that isn't that the most important thing in martial arts? Mu Jin takes a stance, saying that he'll understand if he experiences it and he will attack him with the chain punch first and he wants him to try to avoid it. Mu Gung looks a little nervous but quickly manages to avoid the punch. Mu Jin says that's good, but now he will start with a second technique, so try dodging it too. He rears his fist back and Mu Gung says that he just needs to dodge it normally, but it was just a feint as Mu Jin goes for a low kick. Mu Gung starts to roll around on the floor, asking why he lied. Mu Jin says that if he already knows what his opponent is going to do, that's the point. If your opponent knows what's coming, why would he get hit? He says that Mu Gung needs to deceive his opponents for his attacks to work. He says that his punches are fast and powerful, he will admit that, but before he even punches, he telegraphs it too much just based off his posture. Mu Gung says that he just needs to be so fast that the enemy can't dodge. Mu Jin says that's true, but that's only correct when you're the strongest in the world. He says, for example, the protagonist in the previous work from the same author, it was called The Unorthodox Tyrant Chronicles. The blade techniques of the protagonist, who was the strongest in the world, were so fast that they could not be dodged even if they knew what it was. Mu Jin sighs, saying that in other words, if he's not the strongest, that does not apply to him, so until then he must deceive his opponents and there needs to be psychological warfare, like saying he'll use paper in a rock-paper-scissors game. Then he asks if he understands. Mu Gung is cooking. Back to the fight, Mu Huan is screaming, and Mu Gung asks him if this is all he has. Then warns him saying what his next attack will be, so he should avoid it. It flashbacks us again to Mu Gung saying that he has never thought about using this kind of behavior because it's cowardly. But he wonders why mixing in feints is cowardly to begin with. He sighs, telling Mu Jin that he is right. And since he learned something from him, he'll give him some advice too. Just now he said that he wanted to fight with Mu Tae and his underlings. And it would be dangerous to underestimate them just because of their fight. Mu Jin wonders what he is yapping about, saying that Mu Gung said he was stronger than them, yet he already beat Mu Gung. Mu Gung tells him that he wasn't fighting at his full strength. If it had been a real fight, not sparring, he would have used the martial arts of his family. along with the inner energy that he has accumulated so far too. They follow him to a corner, and he says that this is good enough. Mu Jin sighs, asking why he brought them here just to show his martial arts. Mu Gung says that it's because he doesn't want to upset the elders by using his family's martial arts. Mu Jin gets Mu Yul to go be a lookout, and Mu Gung grins, saying that they are going to be surprised. He turns, thinking that now Mu Jin will finally respect him a little bit. He releases some of his aura, then releases a punch strong enough to create some ripples through the air, and we see that his fist is emanating a green aura. Mu Jin is surprised, saying that this is definitely different from when he used the normal chain punch. It's got power and speed, and that this is around the level of a high school boxer. Although the power isn't as strong as he imagined, considering his age, he's practically a monster. With every kick and punch, the air is snapping. This is why he said things would be dangerous for him, because if he were to fight Mu Tae and his underlings, they'll all use their own martial arts against him. Mu Gung stops his fist just shy of Mu Jin's face, asking what he thinks of his full power. Mu Jin says it is impressive, and he understands why people say he's the strongest among them. But he can tell that he is not able to freely control his inner energy, and if this is all he has, it's still possible to fight him. Mu Jin takes a stance against Mu Hui, and Mu Hui says that if he is just going to stand there, then he will come over to him first. Mu Jin says that after seeing Mu Gung, he can tell that Mu Hui will have to take a certain form to punch using his inner energy. Compared to Mu Gung, his punch is child's play. Mu Jin quickly dodges it and says that the martial arts they use is the chain punch, so it is still pretty predictable. Mu Hui is surprised that he dodged it and creates distance, saying that maybe him beating Mu Gung wasn't a fluke. Mu Jin quickly closes the gap with some boxing footwork and then channels his inner Ipo, using the Dempsey roll to avoid all of Mu Hui's wild punches. Mu Hui puts his guard up after Mu Jin gets close, and Mu Jin says it's good he's defending his face and then hits him straight in the stomach, which clearly puts him in a lot of pain. But Mu Hui does not fall over and instead puts his fists together and is ready to strike down. But Mu Jin quickly goes to his side and kicks his legs out from under him, causing him to fall face first onto the floor. When he looks over, he sees Mu Jin preparing a punch. Mu Jin smashes the ground right beside his face, giving him a warning. Mu Hui starts to cry and then screams, which surprises Mu Jin. He asks him why he's suddenly crying. Mu Hui hits him with the typical "I'm going to tell my father." Mu Jin starts scratching his head and sighs, saying that doing this makes him seem like a bad guy, yet they were the ones who bullied Mu Kyung, so why act like this? Then Mu Jin realizes he forgot about the others, and we see Mu Huan on the ground beneath Mu Gung. Mu Jin realizes he was worried for nothing. He looks over towards Mu Kyung, wondering how the fight will be, and then hears the sound of somebody being beaten. He sees Mu Kyung sitting atop Mu Tae, making him completely bloody. Mu Jin quickly shouts, telling him to stop and that he's already lost. He calls out to Mu Kyung and then starts to remember where he finally remembers him from, saying that he knew he'd seen his name many times, that based on how badly he is beating Mu Tae and his facial expression, he can tell that it must be him. A chill runs down his spine, as in the first novel the author wrote, there was a character inside of The Return of the Demon Supreme, the most insane character of all of them who was a villain, loved blood more than anybody else, and Mu Kyung is known as the Blood Monk. Mu Jin says that he liked the novel a lot when he was young and he forgot most of it since it's been a while. But there was an illustration of a memorable character, and we see a picture of Mu Kyung. We learn that he would always say that humans are evil and that he would use blood to wash away the cycle of sins from them, which is how he earned his nickname. The scene that he is witnessing now had reminded him of the madness of the Mu Kyung that he read about in the novel. He wonders what the hell he has awakened, saying that he only wanted to raise his self-confidence, yet his entire appearance has changed. But what's more important now is that if he does not stop him, then Mu Tae might die. He yells, telling Mu Yul to help him out. Mu Yul runs over, and they both get Mu Kyung off of him. They finally calm him down, but we see his fists are still shaking as he looks down on Mu Tae. Mu Jin wonders why he was being bullied if he's this strong. Then he sees Mu Kyung starting to cry, just letting them puppies pour. Mu Jin says that he is not the Blood Monk yet. And if his memory serves him right, he only appeared as a crazy person, with it never mentioned how he became that way. He wonders if it was perhaps him crossing a line after being bullied for so long and telling them not to come to the temple tomorrow. Baeb Gang turns the corner and screams, and everybody realizes that they are in deep shit. Baeb Gang tells them they better give him a good explanation for what's going on here and asks Mu Jin to explain everything. He also tells Mu Gung too, since he is involved. Nobody says anything, and he repeats himself, saying that he needs an explanation now. Mu Jin starts to get annoyed and then grabs onto Mu Kyung. Babe Gang asks him what the hell he is doing and then is shocked, as Mu Jin says to take a look at his body. We see Mu Kyung's back covered entirely with bruises. Babe Gang asks him exactly what happened. Mu Jin tells him that these injuries were inflicted by his fellow monks and they have been bullying Mu Kyung for 2 months now. They called him here to beat him up again, so he decided to help him. Babe Gang asks him if that is really the truth with a pissed expression on his face. He tells both Mu Hui and Mu Huan to raise their heads and gets close, pressuring them, asking if everything he said is true and that they better not lie to him. Some other students quickly run over and ask Babe Gang why he is yelling so loudly. They see the students crying on the floor along with Mu Tae being beaten and start to get the wrong idea about Babe Gang. Babe Gang then calls out to Mu Kyung, saying that he wants him to tell him what happened. Mu Kyung struggles, trying to explain it, and Mu Jin pats him on the shoulder, saying that it's okay. He just needs to repeat it calmly, as Babe Gang is somebody who is fair and just, so he shouldn't be afraid of him. Mu Kyung starts to break down and falls to his hands and knees, saying that what Mu Jin said is the truth. He has been beaten up by them for the last 2 months. He slowly told them everything he has experienced so far. The other students looked worried but confused because Mu Kyung was very emotional, so he was unable to tell them properly. He was able to get the main point across to Babe Gang. Mu Jin reminds him how the Shaolin would never abandon their own, and since Mu Kyung is a disciple, he thought he needed to be protected. Babe Gang says that the other children are also disciples. Mu Jin gets pissed, asking him if those types of behaviors, threatening a family member and the bullying, is something that the Shaolin would stand for. They have an intense WWE stare down. We hear Yun Sung saying that they are right, but only if what both Mu Kyung and Mu Jin have said is true, and that he will look into it here and now. If it is true, then they will cease being the disciples of the Shaolin. Mu Jin says that he trusts that a fair investigation will be carried out. Yun Sung warns him that even if they cease to become disciples, what happened here will not be overlooked, and that the Shaolin's arts are meant to subdue their opponents, but this is far too brutal considering they are children. Mu Kyung apologizes profusely, but Mu Jin sticks his hand out, saying that he did that and he was too angry with those who bullied Mu Kyung. He was unable to control his emotions, and it was all done by him. Mu Kyung is surprised, but Mu Jin says that it's all true since he started this. If Mu Kyung is meant to shoulder all of this alone, he might end up becoming the blood monk. He wants to prevent that and turn him into an ally. It jumps to a forest, and Babe Gang is telling Mu Jin that he used to stay here and talk to nobody, just stare at the wall and meditate. Mu Jin says he understands. Babe Gang says that they are finally here and shows him a cave entrance, saying that this is where he will be having his punishment. He is reminded not to even look outside of the cave, and that he will be given water and rice balls from time to time, and to head straight inside and start his punishment. We see Mu Jin sitting down, and then he lets out a sigh, saying that he was hoping it wouldn't be the case. This story reflects a world that features every novel by the same author, Ga Kyung. He possessed a character in Shaolin Chronicles, yet a character from Return of the Demon Supreme appeared. He knew that they all shared the same universe. Rather, he thought they were just the same world. He even thinks that the protagonists are in the same time period, but they're just in different areas, so they don't run into each other. In the second half of Return of the Demon Supreme, the protagonist of Shaolin Chronicles, Mu Jin the Divine Monk, would appear, which means that all of the novels are in a similar time period. So his actions might influence events in the other novels. He wonders if he might have just caused a butterfly effect, and he doesn't want to get in the way of the other protagonist's growth, saying that if he wants to become stronger, then he needs to find the right place and connections, but only ones that won't affect anyone's growth. He can't remember anything else since these novels are ones that he read over a decade ago. He only remembers the overarching story rather than the exact details, and if he ends up stealing opportunities from the other protagonist, he doesn't know how his own novel, Shaolin Chronicles, will end. He already took in Mu Kyung, who was meant to become the blood monk, so he needs to make sure that works out still, or else the protagonist of Return of the Demon Supreme wouldn't be able to gain enlightenment from his fight with Mu Kyung. Because with him gone, it means that he'll have nobody to face, and he starts to get annoyed, saying that this is so complicated and he wonders where to start from. We see Babe Gang at the entrance to the cave, and he's peeking inside, saying that it looks like Mu Jin is focused, and that it's crazy that a kid that young will have such a high level of concentration along with all the talent he has shown so far. He truly believes he will become a pillar. We get a flashback to a while ago with Yun Sung telling Hai Ijung this is all because he is lacking. Hai Ijung apologizes, saying that it's because he failed at watching them. Yun Sung tells him that it's okay, asking how the investigation is going. Hae-jung tells him that after they interrogated all the new monks, their testimonies were the same. It's true that Mu-kyung was bullied, and it is a great shame to their group, along with it ruining the atmosphere in the Arhat's hall. Babe Gang comes back, saying that he has returned and asks them if they understand as well. Hae-jung asks what they are talking about, and they say it's obvious from Mu-kyung's face and hands that the one who beat up Mu-tae was him and that Mu-jin just wanted to protect his friend, so he took the blame. They say that it seems like they've got a disaster and a blessing at the same time. Babe Gang says that it's more like the blessing found the disaster and stopped it, as if it wasn't for Mu-jin, there's no telling what would have happened. Everybody sits there in awkward silence, and Babe Gang says he has something else to add. He says that everybody is at fault, and compared to making one person take the blame, they need to make sure it doesn't happen again. Yun Sung asks what he has in mind. Babe Gang says that the biggest cause of the incident is due to the lack of training, and to prevent this, they just need to make them more tired. Asking Yun Sung if he's okay with this, Yun Sung thinks about it and says he will leave it to both Babe Gang and Hae-jung, and that he'll be busy for the next few days. Now that they know the children are guilty, they need to be punished, and he will go to the discipline court first, and that they should do their best to guide the children. We learn that it's been 2 hours since Mu-jin has been staring at the wall and he has not moved at all. Babe Gang decides there's no reason to monitor him and that he'll come back tomorrow morning. He begins to use some movement footwork, saying that he will bring Mu-jin his food, so he should just focus on meditation. As he walks off, Mu-jin notices he's gone and sighs, saying that it's about damn time. And that he was in the special forces for 7 years, but it wasn't for nothing, and he can easily sense when there's someone nearby. He lays on the floor wondering what he should do during the next week. He doesn't have any beans or mushrooms to give the protein he needs, then he wonders when the last time he ate was. Then he wonders when the last time he ate meat was. He says that he ate some fried chicken before coming here, and he starts to recall the meat. His stomach growls, and he says that he's hungry and he really needs meat but wonders where he can get it from. Then he realizes something, saying that he can just hunt for the meat. We see a woman chasing a rabbit, and it's going straight towards a trap. It falls for it, and the girl notices it and looks over to see Mu-jin yelling for protein while his mouth is drooling and his eyes are sparkling. The girl sees him. Near where the temple is on the other side of the mountain, is the Yichun prefecture. All of the disciples spread out in this place to gather information. They talked to the people and figured out where the Sea Bull escort establishment is and headed straight there. We see a man named Hae-gul introduce himself as the vice hall leader. A man welcomes him, introducing himself as Mu-tae's father. His name is Shimun Pyung. He says it's an honor to meet the invincible fist, and he sees his son Mu-tae, asking why the hell his son is trembling so much. But the monks look firm in their resolves. Hae-gul sighs and tells Shimun Pyung that the reason he's acting this way is due to his own wrongdoings, and he should have been training his body and his mind, but instead, he was bullying his friends and caused conflict. Shimun Pyung is surprised, but Hae-gul continues, saying that not only that, but they've talked with the people in the prefecture and they found out that the Sea Bull establishment has been forcing money out of the people here. Hae-gul says that he can't believe that an outer sect would do such an evil deed, and he tells his men to make sure that none of these people can use martial arts again. The Sea Bull mercenaries quickly step up. We see one of them swing towards one of the monks, but he quickly backhands his shit and palms his stomach. The entire group is bodied, realizing that their martial arts have been ruined. Hae-gul says they should take everything they've got and give it back to the people. Hae-gul notices the civilians are panicking and asks them if Bang Jian is around here. Bang Jian introduces himself, asking what is wrong, and is completely surprised as we see Hae-gul bowing, saying that the child that Mu-tae was beating was none other than his son. Bang Jian is caught off guard that his son was being bullied. Hae-gul apologizes, saying that he knows that this isn't good enough, but the Shaolin Temple will take full responsibility. Hae-gul and the other disciples help Bang Jian to transfer to a different establishment affiliated with the temple. It was righteous. Back to Mu-jin, he looks annoyed as he looks on the floor, seeing a sloppy trap. He says it's similar to the one he made for the rabbit, but it's different. It's completely trash compared to what he made. He looks around, wondering who copied it, and says that it's more important that someone else is on this mountain other than him. Then he spots a girl hiding in the bush and walks over to her. She quickly starts to run away, and he tells her to wait. She turns, wondering if she's gone far enough, but Mu-jin quickly jumps in front of her and says that he got her. She lets out a very loud scream, and we see he is surprised that it is a girl. She starts to cry and apologize, and he wonders why a pretty girl is here all alone. Then he hears her stomach grumbling, asking if she wants food. We see her eating, and he asks how starved she was, and if she tried to copy his trap because she was hungry. She says yes, but reminds him that he's a monk, asking if it's okay to eat meat. He says that he has his own circumstances and not to worry about it. Then he says he's curious about something. He continues by asking her why she's so deep in the mountains, saying it should be under the Shaolin temple, but her clothes seem like she's from the outside. She starts to recall her father leaving and how everybody treated her like an outcast. He realizes she is pained by the question, so changes the subject, saying not to tell anyone he is here. She asks if it's because he cannot be caught eating meat, and he says that's part of it, but there are also other reasons. In return, he'll help her get home. She's surprised, asking how he would do that, and he tells her that a shirtless monk will soon come here, and he's quite powerful, so he can easily help her. She asks how he knows he'll be coming here. Mu Jin laughs, saying that he can sense his presence, and that she just needs to wait at the entrance to the cave. A little later, we see Babe Gang walking towards the cave as the girl asks him to help. He asks what an outsider is doing here, and she tells him that she got separated from her group. He tells her that he will help her get home, and she's just surprised that he's actually shirtless. Then he realizes something, asking if she saw a boy in the cave. Mu Jin suddenly gets the chills. She looks up and thinks about it, and realizes this is why he was supposed to keep it a secret. She says that she was too scared of the cave, so she didn't, but she hasn't seen anybody go in or out of it either. Babe Gang says that he knew Mu Jin wouldn't disappoint him, since he's done well so far, so he can go back. He sighs, telling the girl to follow him, and he'll bring her down the mountain and get her home. Then he asks her name, and she introduces herself as Ryusholyua. She says that she'll make sure to repay Mu Jin next time. Mu Jin hears them leave, and gets excited, saying that they're finally gone. He lays down, saying he's tired, but realizes he never asked for her name, saying that it shouldn't matter anyways, as he doubts he'll meet her again. We all know he will. We then hear Babe Gang call out to Mu Kyung. Mu Kyung low-key looks like he is 40. Babe Gang says he has something to tell him that involves his father. Babe Gang told Mu Kyung about everything that happened. The fact that the Sea Bull establishment had been completely ruined and that the temple introduced his father to a new workplace, so that Mu Kyung no longer needs to worry about the outside world and can do his best to become a true disciple. Mu Kyung starts to shake and then cries, saying that he will do his absolute best. Babe Gang pats his head, saying that he will definitely become a true disciple. Babe Gang says it's just as Mu Jin said, the Shaolin temple never abandons its own. On the fourth day of Mu Jin being in the cave, he starts to explain to us that in the special forces he was given survival training. Naturally, that included training on procuring food, so hunting is not hard for him. The one thing he didn't think of when he cooked the meat for the girl back then was that if he hunted animals and cooked with an open fire, he would get caught. In order to leave as few traces as possible, he better cook in nearby caves. He needs to make sure that he leaves as little evidence as possible because he won't have enough time to clear up the mess. So he will cover it in mud, cook it, and then pluck out the fur to save time. Although it's not perfect, he can still get his protein. It was his first time eating meat after coming to the temple, so he was hella happy. The next day comes around, and he says that he gets up earlier than the usual time in the temple and would stare at the wall. But it's not for the sake of meditation. It's because Babe Gang would often come near the cave early in the morning. We see Babe Gang surprised that he's already up meditating and wonders if perhaps he stayed up all night reflecting. He leaves the food and walks away. Mu Jin looks over, saying he can't believe they expect such a young kid to survive on something like this, and that it's really harsh. He says he would quickly eat the food he was given and make up for his lack of energy with hunting. He's got somewhat of a routine down now. On the 6th day of his punishment, he says that now that he's gotten his protein and energy, he must put his body to use immediately. We see him doing push-ups to warm his body up as much as possible. And he realized something as he kept doing this. If he used the breathing method while exercising, it's similar to his normal energy circulation technique. So he challenged himself by combining the enlightenment technique and the exercises and his own form of training. The result of this is that his body feels better than ever. He didn't know it at this time, but this process is called the energy accumulation art. Babe Gang arrives on the 7th day, saying that today his punishment is over, so he can get up now. Mu Jin asks if he is allowed to speak. Babe Gang says of course, and it's time to get to the training ground. As they are walking back, Mu Jin asks him how the incident was handled. He asks if he means Mu Kyung's incident. Mu Jin says yes. Babe Gang then says that after investigating Mu Tae's family, They found out that the Sea Bull escort group has been committing numerous atrocities, so they destroyed it and shut it down while introducing Mu Kyung's father to a new place to work. Then he tells him that the training intensity has also increased and that so far he's allowed him to train in his own way because of their promise, but to be fair to the rest, he will need to follow the training of the Shaolin now. Mu Jin gets annoyed, asking if he is still on that. Babe Gang says that he should at least try it first. Once he gets back, we see Mu Yul happily greeting him, and he asks how everybody has been. Mu Yul says that it was really tiring. Mu Kyung says that he almost gave up, but Mu Gung laughs, saying that this level of training is nothing to him. Hai Ijung shouts to them all, saying that it's going to start now, to get into position. We see a pouch drop that has sandbags inside of it. Everybody begins to wrap it around their ankles. Mu Jin asks if this is what's made the training tougher. We see the students struggling with just a couple of pouches, and one of them looks over to see that Mu Jin is using the sandbags to do his own exercises, which was just his version of the horse stance. He says although he doesn't really like the grip and the sense of balance the pouches give, it's not like he's training to be a bodybuilder, so this could be perfect. Some students talk about how Mu Jin is doing exercises they've never seen before, and maybe he can't understand the mod around here. Babe Gang puts his hand on both of their shoulders, and they wonder if he is finally about to reprimand Mu Jin. Babe Gang is annoyed, saying that he is just making his training easier, but then realizes that he is sweating much more than the rest. So maybe his training is actually tougher than theirs, but he realizes there's more to it as there is a heavy energy around Mu Jin, and he recognizes it as the energy accumulation art. If you've watched till the end, comment, Elemental, to let me know. Subscribe for more videos like this, leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.